Good afternoon, everybody. Well, actually, it's early evening since it's almost 6. Well, it's sunny outside, so it still counts as afternoon, right? Um, anyway, so for this week's review, I'm going to be reviewing the film Sonic the Hedgehog, and we did it, folks. We finally managed to bash a studio for a decision with the movie, a creative design that messed up Sonic completely, and we finally managed to push him to be represented the way he was meant to be. Which, to be fair, the original design from that first trailer, yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge Sonic fan by any means, but I thought I had to burp. Sorry. But that first design, it looked surprisingly bad. I mean, I get they were trying to go for a realistic look, but either they couldn't think of a better way or they didn't really try hard to make Sonic look believable and not uncanny valley levels of ugly. But a lot of fans backlashed. The movie got delayed from Thanksgiving of 2019 to, I believe it was Valentine's Day that this movie came out, which it's kind of funny because this movie really isn't a love story, at least not in the romantic sense. So the plot of this movie is Sonic is living on Earth, and he ends up causing a huge blackout throughout not just the small town in Montana that he's in, but he also causes a huge blackout. I can't. I saw the movie a couple days ago. I think it's like countrywide. It's just like a huge explosion of energy. And so the government reluctantly hires Jim Carrey, I mean, Dr. Robotnik, to analyze the situation. And considering he's played by Jim Carrey and Jim Carrey's doing the goofy, over the top man child stuff that he did in the early 90s, I can see why these top members of the military working in the Pentagon would be very reluctant to let this cartoonish buffoon out into the field. Um, and I will say this: most of the time when I see Jim Carrey do a goofy, over the top comedic role, like in Dumb and Dumber, for example, usually I find it to be very annoying and just kind of insufferable. It's kind of like you do kind of want to see someone just walk up to Jim Carrey's character and be like, "Shut up," you know. But and actually, it's funny that I mentioned that Carrey's characters are usually annoying enough that you want to physically beat them up. It's funny because James Marsden, spoilers, actually punches out Carrie a couple times during the movie, and the first time he just knocks him unconscious. It's funny because Carrie is. I mean, a lot of these movies, on almost every movie, it's very hard to point out a villain that's smart. Even the ones that act smart, their hubris and their arrogance with their intelligence usually causes them to get their ass kicked, and usually it's just in one punch. Um, I'm getting a little sidetracked, and I will say this though: what I do like about the movie is that it does present a very simple character arc for the Marsden character as one of the police officers in Green Hills, and for Sonic. Because for Marsden's character, it's learning to appreciate the town that he lives in instead of looking for the big city. And it's kind of a nice twist on the character stuck in a small town, but he realizes that the small town is actually the best place he can be and where he's needed. So there's kind of a nice little storyline going there. And Sonic, even though he's lived on Earth, has remained hidden because he doesn't want to face any backlash or any violence towards him. And the movie does tap into some of the loneliness that Sonic is feeling. And that's actually kind of cool for a kids' movie. My only complaint, and I'm not sure how much I can harp on this, considering this is a film meant for, kids and preteens with their families going to the theater. I'm not really sure how much clout or how much stock you'd be willing to put into this. But I think what separates a good kids film from a great kids film is they introduce some complex and a little more mature ideas that a lot of kids films don't tackle, but they give the issue, in this case loneliness, They give stuff like that a little more time to develop, and they focus on it a little more to the point where you get a wide understanding of the spectrum and the emotions the character is going through. And this movie kind of downplays that. It downplays some of the heavier themes that I think could have made the movie really good if they expanded upon that. But then again, I'm not really sure if that's a comment worth making because the film's really supposed to be a fun, silly action adventure. It's not trying to be something like Inside Out, which was very emotional and very heavy on the themes that a lot of people in their preteens would deal with and then don't really understand at the time, but then gradually get. Um, and aside from that one mistake, I think the other thing I would complain about the movie is that, I mean, it's a good movie, and I definitely think it's something that you should go and see if you want to. But if you're expecting something, I mean, this movie's okay. I would have liked it if they took more chances or if they took more risks. But this movie kind of felt like a generic paint by numbers kids film script. And there's nothing wrong with that because if you do it right, then people would be more than willing to pay the ticket for the admission. I mean, it's a movie that I would recommend seeing once with or without, kids of your own, but it's not really something I would rush out to see again. They did set up a sequel with one of the other characters from the Sonic games, Tails, showing up at the end. So I think from what I've heard, they're developing a sequel, but considering the fact that everything has been shut down recently because of the coronavirus pandemic, I don't really know when things will be going back to normal, so I'm not sure when we're going to get the sequel. And excuse me, maybe the reason why they kept this film as basic and fast paced as possible was to set up the origin in case this movie got successful enough for a sequel, so then they can expand on other ideas. Um, I do think that the movie does have a good sense of humor because a lot of it does kind of rely on wisecracks and smart ass remarks from Sonic, and it actually is a good character arc for Marsden's character because throughout the movie he kind of feels like he wants to do something where he can save a life that's in danger, and with Sonic. Granted, I'm pretty sure Marsden wasn't thinking blue hedgehog alien thing as the life to save. Still counts though. Um, I really don't think there's much else to say about the movie. I mean, like many generic films, it's okay. It's not groundbreaking. It's well done. My only other complaint is that the CGI work on Sonic, sometimes it looks pretty effective and convincing. Other times it kind of looks like something that wasn't fully rendered completely. Because there are a lot of times where I can tell that Sonic really isn't there. This isn't like Gollum for Lord of the Rings where you can hardly tell it's a CGI image. In this case, it's like most of the time it works. Other times it kind of looks a little phony. But aside from the effects on Sonic not always being perfect, and aside from the fact that this movie had opportunities to deal with more angsty subject matter of not being able to fit in or feeling like you'll never fit in. Excuse me, I really need to make sure I don't eat anything before I do these reviews because that's like the third time I've belched. Anyway, but in a more recent example, I mean, Disney, they kind of nailed the idea about the loneliness and the isolating feelings you would feel from being cut off from society. They touched on that in Frozen, and they took a lot of time in the beginning of the movie to set up the characters, and that movie did it very well. I think if Sonic did something with Sonic's wanting to belong but feeling like he can't because of the risk, I feel like they could have gone more into the sadness and frustration that Sonic would be feeling at the time. And the movie's like only 99 minutes, so I think if they made it about 9, 10 minutes longer with more character development, I think that would have worked. And I feel like this movie could have pulled that off well. It just didn't go the extra mile. Um, that's really all I'd have to say. I'm not sure what I'll review next. And considering the fact that, again, coronavirus, I hate to sound like a broken record, I'm not sure when I'd be seeing a movie in the theater again. But you know what? We'll just adapt and deal with the situation as it comes. I'm still gonna be making YouTube videos, so until next time on the Monday cover, I will see you guys then. Take care and please be safe. Just be safe. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face or anything. Just be healthy, please. Okay.